Lost my memory. When I woke up, the only image left in my mind was of Sean holding and kissing my sister. So, every time I saw him after that, I would loudly call him brother-in-law. Later, he pleaded with me, his eyes red-rimmed. Can you please stop calling me that? We're supposed to be the closest ones. I recorded him in his most pathetic state and promptly sent the video to my sister. I was already in the hospital when I came to. My mom was sitting by the bed, crying. A mess of tears and sniffles. You just fainted out of the blue? Thank goodness Sean was with you. If anything serious had happened, how would I go on living? Fainted. I touched my head. It did hurt a bit, but I couldn't remember how I'd ended up in hospital. Mom cried even harder. I don't care. After you're discharged, you must move back home. I nodded absently, just as I was wondering who this Sean was. Someone pushed the door open. The person who entered looked to be about 27 or 28, with delicate features and a slender build. He strode over without even putting down the payment slips in his hand. He tried to help me sit up. I'm not comfortable with physical contact from strangers. I shifted slightly sideways, avoiding his touch. Mom looked startled for a moment, but quickly composed herself, nudging me. Silly child. Why are you acting like he's a stranger? Say hello. Seeing the anxious look on his face, I felt puzzled. After a moment's hesitation, I spoke uncertainly. Brother-in-law? Mom was shocked and hurriedly patted me. Don't talk nonsense. This is Sean. Your fiancé? Fiancé? Hearing this, I was stunned for a second, dazed. I shook my head in confusion. I don't have a boyfriend. How could I have a fiancé? Everyone in the room looked shocked. It was a man called Sean who suddenly spoke up. Jeannie must be joking with me. Don't worry. Uncle, auntie, I've spoken to the doctor. Jeannie is fine. Just needs to stay in hospital for observation for a few days. I'll stay here tonight to look after her. Mom excitedly grasped his hand, nodding repeatedly. That would be so kind of you. Seeing they were about to agree, I interrupted. No. Mom turned around, looking utterly bewildered. Meeting her puzzled gaze, I shook my head decisively. I don't want my brother-in-law looking after me. Jeannie, are you mad, my sister? Standing to the side, panicked out seeing her like this. I found it even stranger. He clearly was my brother-in-law, and I clearly remembered him holding and kissing my sister. But before I could get the words out, Sean hurriedly cut me off. Jeannie just woke up. It's normal for her mind to be a bit muddled, I understand. As he said this, he go with the flow took my hand. Meeting my parents' worried looks, he declared earnestly, Uncle, auntie, don't worry. I will definitely take good care of Jeannie. No. I pulled my hand back as if electrocuted, my gaze blank. That can't be. I clearly don't have a boyfriend. And I said, staring straight at him, you say my mind is muddled. Even if it is, why is it only you that I've forgotten? Hearing this, Sean knelt down, lowered his voice and looked at me. Jeannie, stop messing about. I'm not messing about. I shook my head, turning my gaze to my mum. I'm quite sure he's my brother-in-law, not my fiancé. Mum was horrified, exchanging a look with Dad. She went to fetch the doctor after a round of checks. The doctor called them all outside. Through the door, I only caught words like shock, temporary, and so on. But then, when they returned, Mum quickly grabbed her bag, pulled Dad along, and was ready to leave. Before leaving, she pushed Sean towards my bed. Jeannie, believe me, he's your fiancé. You chat with Sean properly. You'll remember once you've talked more. She pulled my sister along too. Come on, let's give them some space. A flash of reluctance passed over my sister's face, which I caught immediately. But hindered by my parents' presence, she stayed silent and followed them out. After the hospital room door closed with a bang, only Sean and I were left. He sat by my bedside, a tone of inquiry in his voice. Jeannie, you really don't remember me? I shook my head firmly, then nodded. I do, you're my brother-in-law. Incredulity and sadness flashed across his face. How could this happen? We had such a good relationship. You don't remember any of it? I shook my head blankly. No, I don't. For a moment, he seemed frustrated. He held his head, burying his face in his arms, then spoke with red-rimmed eyes. You used to drive half an hour just to buy my favorite sweet tofu pudding because I mentioned I fancied it. You'd give me your scarf on snowy days. You even gave me spending money when we were at university. Don't you remember any of that? And I just found it ridiculous. Was that really me? Sounded more like a severe case of lovesick foolishness. Irritated by his talk, I couldn't help but interrupt. Sorry, I really don't remember. Please leave. I don't believe you. He suddenly raised his voice. You pursued me for a whole year. You always said that after meeting me, you couldn't bear the thought of anyone else. Don't you remember that either? I was tired, so I closed my eyes and stopped looking at him, but he seemed determined not to give up until I believed him. He took my hand, gently stroking it, and said, after you're discharged, you can go home and look around. See how the house is decorated, the things I gave you. You'll find traces of us being together. Also, you can check your phone. There are lots of photos of us together on there. Uncomfortable with his touch, I pulled my hand away and said coldly, brother-in-law, please have some self-respect. I am not your brother-in-law. His face flushed instantly, perhaps thinking of something. He took a deep breath and softened his tone. It's all right. I'll stay to look after you these next few days. You'll remember eventually. Not necessary, I said indifferently. Whether what you say is true or not, the fact is, I don't remember now. And I don't love you anymore. Please leave. I'm not going. I need to stay and look after you. His tone was as firm as could be. I placed my hand on the call button. If you don't leave, I'll call for someone. No matter what you say, I'm not leaving. He pressed his lips together, looking somewhat aggrieved. Without hesitation, I pressed the call button. Soon after, a nurse asked him to leave on the grounds that the patient is agitated and needs rest. He didn't seem to have experienced anything like this before. He argued with the nurse for a bit, his face turning red. With anxiety, even STAMMERING. In the end, he couldn't win the argument and was escorted out. Before leaving, he kept looking back at me every few steps, calling out, "Jeannie, I'll come again tomorrow." I ignored him and looked down, starting to scroll through my phone. Indeed, as he had said, there were many photos of him and me on the phone. Even the memos were filled with notes. What Sean likes to eat, favorite travel spots, preferred color for clothes. Looking through it bit by bit, it seemed we had a pretty good relationship. Even these little details seemed to suggest that I had loved him deeply. How could I have forgotten someone like that so completely? I put down the phone and gently rubbed my temples. Everything seemed to make sense. But something still felt off. Memory can't be deceived. Although a part of my memory had been erased, I distinctly remembered the image of him kissing my sister. I believe memory loss is possible, but I don't believe memories get jumbled up like that. Especially since that image was so clear that even recalling it now made my chest ache. No matter what others thought, there was definitely something going on between Sean and my sister. In the following days, Sean kept coming to the hospital, sometimes bringing my favorite tiramisu, other times tidying my room without a word, and I would either knock the cake to the floor without a glance, or splash water on him to drive him away. But no matter what, I couldn't get rid of him. A few days later, finally fed up, I checked myself out and went home. "Jeannie, why are you?" Mum was surprised to see me back, then peered behind me. "Where's Sean?" "I told you. He's my brother-in-law." I put my things down casually on the sofa. "Stop talking nonsense," she said, wiping her hands and calling for Dad. "The engagement is next week. The invitations have been sent out. We can't have this kind of silly talk engagement." My mind raced for a moment, then I shook my head. "Mum, let's postpone the engagement for now." Dad immediately objected. "You like Sean so much. You were the one who insisted on having the engagement party. How can you cancel it just like that? You'll regret it later." I took a deep breath. "Mum, whether you believe me or not, I can't get this image out of my head, Sean holding and kissing my sister." Mum was momentarily stunned. After exchanging a look with Dad, she cautiously asked, "Jeannie, could it really be that you remembered wrong?" "No." I shook my head firmly. "My parents, after all, dote on me the most." After discussing it, Dad waved a hand decisively. "Let's postpone it for now. I'll tell people our daughter is injured and we'll hold it after she's recovered." Since it seemed the most acceptable solution for them now, I agreed. Within a day, I got a call from Sean. "Jeannie, I heard from my dad that your family wants to postpone the engagement. Is it true?" "Yes," I admitted without hesitation. On the other end, he urgently said, "I told you. Your memory is confused. Why won't you believe me?" I found it laughable. After a few seconds of silence, I said, "But I also don't remember loving you. I'm coming to see you." He hung up quickly. Soon, I heard someone calling me outside the door. Mom let him in and brought him to me, telling us to talk properly. He had clearly come in a hurry. His hair was disheveled, and he didn't look well. He grabbed my wrist, almost pleading, "Jeannie, please be reasonable. Don't postpone the engagement. Let's get engaged first, and once you remember, we can get married." "All right." "No." I shook off his hand, nonchalantly. "Why would I get engaged to someone I don't love?" "But you've lost your memory." He was nearly frantic, running his hands through his hair, his eyes red. "Let's get engaged first. When you remember, we'll get married. Nothing will have changed. Isn't that the best outcome?" Hearing this, I found it amusing. Looking at his pained expression, I gave a faint, mocking smile. "If, as you say, I liked you so much before, why are you so insistent on the engagement? Wouldn't I fall for you again eventually? Or do you have some other motive? Or perhaps there really is something between you and my sister, and you're trying to cover it up?" "What nonsense." He visibly panicked. "I told you there's nothing between us. Your memory is confused. What are you playing at?" "I'm not playing," I said innocently, spreading my hands. "You should go. Postponing the engagement is the most face I can give you right now." Hearing this, his expression changed. Without a word, stony-faced, he slowly turned around. When he turned back, his eyes were red. "Jeannie," he called softly, "then give me another chance. This time, let me pursue you, okay?" I don't know why, but my heart suddenly felt a dull ache. Seeing his pain in appearance, I suddenly found it hard to breathe. Collecting myself after a moment, I lowered my eyes and said faintly, "Do what you want." Okay." He nodded, slowly releasing my hand. As he left, he seemed utterly dejected, even staggering a little. After he left, Mum came into the room. She looked at me, seeming to want to say something but hesitating. After struggling internally, she sighed. "Sean doesn't seem like the person you described. Could it be that you had an argument before you fell, remembered wrong, and misunderstood?" A trace of doubt flickered in my eyes, my expression darkening slightly. But in the end, I shook my head and said if there really is something between him and my sister, I'll find out eventually. But for now, I won't get engaged to him. She nodded. That's true. But Sean is a good lad, often giving you little surprises. If you're really meant to be, you'll find your way back to each other. I caught the key point as if receiving guidance. I quickly reached under the bed, felt for a large box and opened it. A musty smell immediately hit me. It was filled with various small items. Strangely, even though that part was missing from my memory, seeing them still gave me a sense of déjà vu. There were photos of me and Sean inside. It seemed to be graduation day. I was wearing a graduation gown, leaning against Sean, smiling radiantly. At the moment the photo was taken, he was also looking down at me, his eyes filled with warmth. Digging deeper, there was a diary, couples mugs from university, even Sean's school uniform. On the uniform was written in strong, powerful characters, wishing Jeannie a bright future and great success. At the very bottom of the box was another photo. It seemed to be from when Sean visited my home. The four of us stood together for a group photo. In the picture, Sean had his arm around me, smiling warmly. But just as I was about to put the photo back, I suddenly spotted a pair of familiar eyes in the corner. It was Tina. Although I couldn't remember why she wasn't in the photo with us then, those eyes sent a chill down my spine. She was standing far in the corner, full of resentment, staring in my direction. Her gaze was filled with jealousy and malice. I immediately felt a shiver run through me. Mum, what's the story with this photo? This one. Mum took the photo, squinted as she looked at it carefully, somewhat dismissive. The first time Sean came to her house for dinner. You were so happy then. Insisted on taking a group photo. What about sister? I pointed at Tina. Why didn't she join the photo? Mum looked surprised. She gave me a deep look, somewhat taken aback. You don't even remember her situation? I shook my head, asking blankly. What about it? She looked up, her expression complex, but didn't answer directly. She's just like that, never participates in family activities. For a moment, Tina's expression in the photo overlapped with the memory of her kissing Sean. Looking back at the photo in my hand, I suddenly became much clearer-headed. The emotions tinged with sadness from Sean's earlier infection instantly vanished without a trace. I subconsciously gripped the photo, a complex emotion rising in my chest. Mum followed my gaze and saw Tina exclaiming in surprise, "Goodness! Why does she look like that? As if she's seen a ghost." Then she started blaming me. Before, you treasured these things, hid them away, and wouldn't let us see. Otherwise, I'd have been scared to death at this. She looked at me cautiously. This Tina, could there really be something between her and Sean? I didn't speak. Complex emotions, like a small sprout, began to ferment in my heart. After a moment of silence, I hesitated no longer. I put those things, along with everything else in the room related to Sean, into the box. Then I found a large rubbish bag, dumped everything in, tied it up and threw it outside the door. Mum watched me do all this, somewhat dumbfounded. Really throwing it away? You won't regret it. After all, you used to. I knew she was about to bring up the past again. I won't regret it. Unable to bear her nagging, I interrupted. You said it yourself, if there's a lot, we'll find our way back together. Returning to my room, Sean had been gone for an hour, but his scent still lingered in the air. Recalling how deeply affectionate and tender Sean had been earlier, saying he would pursue me this time, I felt a wave of nausea. In one go, I blocked and deleted all his phone numbers and contact methods. A day later, I received a call from an unknown number. As soon as I answered, a familiar voice filled my ears. Jeannie, what's wrong? Why did you block my number? I thought about hanging up immediately, but my finger hovering over the screen paused for a moment, and I finally said, Sean, it seems I just don't feel anything for you anymore. Let's not contact each other. He urgently said, but you promised me you'd give me a chance to pursue you again. Hearing his full of feeling voice and thinking of yesterday's photo, I felt only disgust. Suppressing the nausea, I said I was just joking. With that, I hung up. At the same time, the doorbell rang. I thought the auntie had gone grocery shopping without her keys. But when I opened the door, I saw Sean, whom I hadn't seen for 2 days. He looked discomfited, his hair wet from the rain, plastered to his face, his clothes soaked through. I was taken aback. What are you doing here? He was full of anxiety, and there was a pleading tone in his voice. Jeannie, please don't ignore me. Seeing the rain outside getting heavier, and him without an umbrella, I stood in the doorway, still not letting him in. But he suddenly reached out, pulled me into an embrace, and held me tightly. His warm breath brushed my ear, leaving me at a loss. Jeannie, I'm begging you, give me one more chance. Let's not talk about the past. I just beg you for one more chance. I'm pleading with you, all right? Hearing his voice, my heart suddenly ached. It was as if a knife had been twisted deep inside. But after a moment of silence, I still pushed him away and said coldly, let's forget it. I still trust my intuition. His expression changed instantly. He grabbed my wrist, his eyes blazing, and demanded in a low voice, Jeannie, what exactly do you mean? How can you decide to get engaged, then forget, and now not even give me a chance? Is this how the Zhang family plays with people? He had gripped my wrist so hard it hurt, and I couldn't help but cry out. Perhaps afraid someone else was home, he instinctively loosened his grip. Taking advantage of his momentary daze, I quickly went inside and closed the door. Before the door closed completely, I heard him shouting behind me, "Jeannie, I'll stand right here until you're willing to give me a chance." The rain poured down even harder. I stood by the window, watching him huddle in his clothes, standing in the rain, trembling all over. When I looked at him, he suddenly glanced up and saw me. Despite being drenched in discomfiture, he managed to force a smile at me. I looked away and let the curtain fall. By the time dinner was over, 2 hours had passed, the heavy rain had stopped, but the wind was still blowing outside. I lifted a corner of the curtain to look. There was no one there anymore, only the trees by the roadside swaying in the wind. He was gone. I finally breathed a sigh of relief. Unexpectedly, a few days later, Tina texted me, "Come out, let's talk." It wasn't a request. I stared at the message for a long time, but eventually decided to meet. It was time to clear some things up. We met at a nearby cafe. I spotted Tina sitting by the window as soon as I walked in. She was resting her chin on her hand, looking out the window, idly stirring her coffee. The sunlight fell on her face, making her look even more delicate. Sensing my gaze, she looked up, saw me, and a mocking smile appeared on her lips. "I thought you wouldn't dare come." I shrugged. "Why wouldn't I?" Hearing this, she dropped the smile and got straight to the point. "Jeannie, can't you stop being so selfish? You should know how important this engagement is to Sean. Postponing it so casually. What will his relatives think of him?" I frowned. "Is that why you asked me here today?" She didn't answer, just took a sip of coffee. After a while, she said, "He's your boyfriend. After all, you can't just break up without considering his feelings." I found her attitude amusing. So I ended up laughing out loud. I said, "Tina, when it comes down to it, you're not even my real sister. What are you so concerned about?" Hearing this, her expression changed, but she didn't address it, instead saying, "You've never seen him at his most vulnerable, have you? A few days ago, he got caught in the rain, had a high fever for days, while delirious. He kept calling your name. Don't you feel sorry for him at all, though, right?" She crossed her arms, looking down on me. "I almost forgot. You're the Jong family. How would you know how to feel sorry for someone?" My face fell. "He was at your place." Yes, she didn't deny it. "I looked after him for 3 days. If you care at all, you should go see him." I held back for a moment, but couldn't resist any longer. "Tina, you like him, don't you?" Yes, she admitted it quickly without hiding it. "I do like him. But what does that prove?" "So I didn't remember wrong?" I raised an eyebrow, looking straight at her. "That image of him kissing you, I didn't remember wrong, did I?" She was stunned, perhaps surprised by my directness. She lowered her head and didn't respond, and I smiled. "Then I'll take that as a yes." She was quiet for a moment, took another sip of coffee, and said, "Even if it is true, what does it matter? If you still want to be with Sean, you can just forget this little incident. After all, what man doesn't make a mistake before marriage? Sean is already a very good man." I stared at her for a while. She didn't seem to be joking. After thinking for a moment, I said calmly, "Then I don't understand. You like him, yet you want me to marry him. Tina, what are you really thinking? I don't believe in that nonsense about if you love someone, let them go. That doesn't work on me." She looked at me, gave a light laugh, and said, "Jeannie, hitting your head seems to have made you smarter." She picked up her bag and stood up. Amidst the screech of the chair against the floor, she smiled triumphantly. "I said what I needed to say. You can pay for the coffee today. I'm broke." With that, she strode away. After Tina left, I stared at the empty chair opposite, lost in thought. Actually, after waking up, I hadn't just forgotten about Sean. I'd also lost most of my memories concerning Tina. Yesterday, Mom told me that Tina wasn't actually her daughter. Tina's mother was Dad's first love, but Dad never knew about Tina. When I was 10, her mother suddenly showed up with Tina. She said she had cancer and was dying. She insisted we take the child in. Mom, soft-hearted, agreed. But as Tina grew up, she heard some gossip from somewhere and became convinced that Mom was responsible for her mother's death. Because of this, Tina had hated her family all these years. She'd done quite a few things behind our backs to cause trouble. Mom was so angry she wanted to kick her out. But because she lost her mother so young, Dad ultimately couldn't bear to, so he bought a small flat nearby for her to live in, only allowing her to come over for meals a few times a month. Then, thinking about what she'd said about me hitting my head, it seemed she knew something. But I really couldn't remember how I'd fallen. When I asked Mom, she only said that Sean and Tina had brought me to the hospital. She didn't know the details. I'd asked Sean in the hospital too, but his answers were vague. I shivered. It seemed I'd have to wait a bit longer. When my memory returned, everything would become clear. On the way back to our estate, I took a careful look around. We live in a villa complex. There were only 6 villas in the entire estate. It's quiet, with few people and lots of greenery. Looking over at the neighboring estate, it's packed with flats, naturally not as grand as the villa area. Even the environment there is worse than some old, run-down parts of the city. The property management there had long since vanished and Tina lived there. I lowered my eyes, a complex emotion flashing through me. Although Tina had brought it on herself, she was also a pitiable person. Looking up, I saw Sean standing at the estate entrance. He was wearing a white short-sleeved shirt and gray tracksuit bottoms, a different style from a few days ago. There'd been a heavy rain here recently, and the weather had turned slightly cooler. Most people on the street were wearing jackets. In comparison, Sean's short sleeves seemed somewhat insubstantial. What are you doing here? I stopped a short distance from him. Jeannie? He strode forward and grabbed my hand. His cool fingertips sent a chill through my skin. I instinctively pulled my hand back, shaking it off. Undaunted, he tugged at his own clothes and asked, Jeannie, I wore this outfit specially today. Does it remind you of anything? His eyes were full of hope and inquiry. But I looked carefully and still shook my head. No, it doesn't really. Disappointment flashed in his eyes, quickly masked. I wore this specially. It's what I wore on our first date. You said I looked handsome then. To be fair, he's not bad looking, distinct features, a warm smile, a slender build. Watching him shiver, but still try to smile, I looked at him with a complex expression for a long time. After a moment's hesitation, I sighed softly and said, but Tina admitted it. That image in my head is real. The smile froze on his face, his expression stiffened. She contacted you? Yes, I nodded. His face gradually darkened, a myriad of conflicting emotions flashing in his eyes. Then, a sob crept into his voice. He grabbed the hem of my top, pleading like an abandoned puppy. Jeannie, I beg you. I was wrong. Please give me another chance. I looked at him. Somewhat dazed, he persisted, his eyes red, speaking in a low, humble voice. That time, Tina sought me out. She was the one who came onto me. But we didn't actually do anything. I beg you, give me another chance. Please, Jeannie. I pulled my hand away, my eyes turning cold. Sean, what exactly is your game? Why are you so insistent on marrying me? He froze, then forced a pale smile. You are the one who proposed getting engaged. What possible motive could I have? I shook my head. But even before I regained my memory, you were pushing for the engagement. Why? He frowned. Because I love you. Don't give me that love nonsense. The thought of him previously refusing to admit anything while playing the devoted partner made me sick. Even if the truth might be painful. After a brief internal struggle, I asked him, Sean, are you with me for who I am? Or for my family's company? He choked up and grew agitated. What did she tell you? Tina hadn't actually said much, but her comments about how important this engagement is to Sean and what will the Joe family relatives think of him had given me plenty to think about. I pursed my lips and feigned a cold smile. She told me everything. He panicked, grabbing my arm to explain. All right, yes. Getting engaged to me would earn me some respect from my father. But what's wrong with that? I still love you for you. For a moment, my mind was in turmoil. My chest felt as if it had been struck violently, a sharp pain spreading through it. I took a deep breath. But you've been with my sister. You're practically my brother-in-law. I haven't, he exclaimed, agitated. There's nothing between us. What are you even thinking? Do you really have so little faith in what we've had these years? Images flashed through my mind, him firmly denying everything, insisting my memory was faulty, and Tina admitting it all without hesitation. I'd given him chances to explain, and he denied everyone. No, I don't, I said without hesitation and turned away. A few days later, I saw Sean appear downstairs again, still wearing that white short sleeve and gray trousers. He lingered outside, probably knowing he'd done wrong and didn't dare come in. I stood by the window watching him for a long time. So long that I thought he'd left, but then I heard a knock at the door. I went to open it, thinking it might be Sean. But it was Tina. She was holding a cigarette. As I opened the door, she stubbed it out, blowing a smoke ring that made my eyes water. Mum's home. Mum had told me she and Tina didn't get along. So unless Dad invited her for a meal, she would never set foot in the house. But she smiled mockingly and blocked the door. I saw her leave, carrying a new bag, probably off to some gathering. She won't be back for a while. Fine. I gave in and stepped aside to let her in. She lived in this house for many years and knew the layout well. Once inside, she familiarly poured herself a glass of water, plopped down on the sofa, crossed her arms and looked at me. I take back what I said before. She stared at me without hesitation. That day you asked me why, if I like Sean, I still want you to marry him. She shook her head with a light laugh. I thought about it for a long time after I went back. I think you should let him go. But if you won't, that's fine too. I don't mind competing with you. What? The statement was so sudden I thought I'd misheard. She smiled, somewhat dismissively. When it comes down to it, Sean likes me too. Every time you two argued, he'd come to me. For New Year's and holidays, I was the one who went with him to choose your gifts. And then he'd get me a separate one. Whenever I called him, he'd come running. At your house, you have a maid. But at my place, he wouldn't let me lift a finger. And do you remember the scar on Sean's back? Here. She laughed lightly again. Oh, I forgot you lost your memory. You asked him about it once. He said he got it in a fight. Actually, it was because a colleague was harassing me. He saw it, got into a fight with the guy, and didn't dare tell you about it. Isn't that adorable? Even though I didn't remember our past and knew Tina was here to provoke me, I still found it all deeply. According to everyone, I used to love him deeply, was completely devoted to him. So what were they really doing all this time? She grew more and more pleased with herself, even crossing her legs. And also, what you saw was real. He said he missed me, wanted some excitement, told me to meet him at your marital home, and kissed me right outside the door. Even though I couldn't remember loving him, Hearing her say it so bluntly made me feel like a tidal wave was crashing in my chest, as if my entire worldview was shattered. I clenched my fists, my teeth chattering. You knew he was about to get married. Have you no shame? Get married. She let out a light laugh. He has his reasons, you must have forgotten. He's his father's illegitimate son. His father only started paying attention to him because he was dating and engaged to you before. I thought we were alike, both victims of circumstance. If he was doing well, I was happy. But now I regret it. Why should I watch him be with someone else these past few days? I've seen him hanging around here. If you don't care about him, I do. If you don't love him, stop leading him on with this memory loss act. Meeting her provocation gaze, I suddenly calmed down. No matter how awful they were. So what? I lost my memory. I didn't remember the past. Didn't remember loving him. Besides, I'd already decided to leave him, even if he was terrible in the past. It was just that, the past. What did it have to do with me now? I took a deep breath and gave her a cold smile. Does Sean know you're slandering him like this? He told me that kiss was you coming onto him. Hearing this, she didn't get angry. She nodded, took a sip of water and said indifferently, that's exactly what he told me at first. He said how you, Jeannie, chased him. How you threw yourself at him. How you used your family background to pressure him into being with you. Really? I picked up my phone, tapped the screen. Thank you. I was just wondering how to get rid of him properly. Now it's sorted. He'll be cut off by my parents for sure. When she saw my phone, her face changed dramatically. Give me that, she screamed, lunging to grab my phone. I staggered from the impact but managed to forward the recording to the family group chat. She was shaking with anger, her face twisted, eyes wide as if they might pop out. She lunged at me, claws out, screaming out of control. Jeannie, you've always wronged me. You stole my parents and now you're stealing my boyfriend. Seeing that it was past the 2-minute mark and the message couldn't be recalled, I stopped resisting. She scratched a few bloody lines on my face. Steal your boyfriend? I tossed my phone aside and shrugged helplessly. Then you can have him. He's been hanging around here lately like a bothersome fly. You better make your move quickly. Otherwise I might not be able to resist hiring someone to break his legs. Then you'd be stuck with a cripple for the rest of your life. Leaning closer to her, I added with a ghastly smile. Even if he's a cripple, you probably still wouldn't let go, right? After all, his family's business is doing quite well lately. Besides him, you probably can't find anyone better. Shameless. She released me, staring at me with hatred. I gently pushed her away and called my dad. Dad came back with a face like thunder. Sean was following behind him. With everyone present, I played the recording again. Sean's face was bright red. Tense, his fists clenched as the recording ended. Dad's face grew darker and darker. It's fake. All lies. Sean was trembling all over, shaking like a leaf, meeting Dad's suspicious gaze. He was so scared he fell to his knees with a thud. He scrambled forward on his knees, clutching Dad's legs, his whole body radiating panic. It was all Tina. She slandered me, seduced me, always said Jeannie was no good to me. Mom was furious, her eyes red, looking at Sean in disbelief. Is what Tina said today true? Have you been together for a long time? No. He shook his head frantically, turning his gaze to Dad. Uncle, believe me, what she said is all lies. That day outside the marital home, she was the one who came and harassed me. Tina's face instantly turned ashen. She knelt down, looked at Sean, her lips trembling, and said word by word, that's not what you said a while ago. You said you had feelings for me, that you couldn't let me go. Stop talking nonsense. Sean was shaking with anger, cutting her off sharply. I never said any of that. I never did those things for you. Everything you said is a slander from beginning to end. There's only been Jeannie in my heart. Dad heard this, pulled Tina up and asked her, Tina, tell me the truth. Is what's in this recording true or false? Tina's face was streaked with tears. She turned her face away, not answering. Fine. Dad nodded. He might not know how to handle Tina, but he had plenty of ways to deal with Sean. Looked at Sean, his eyes cold enough to send a chill down one's spine. I think I understand this situation well enough. Jeannie hasn't been well lately. I think the engagement and the wedding should both be called off. Hearing this, Sean panicked, forgetting propriety. He grabbed Dad's arm. He wanted to plead, but Dad shook him off. Dad gave him a deep look, said nothing more, and took Mom upstairs. The spacious living room was suddenly empty except for the three of us. I clapped my hands, smiling appreciatively. The illegitimate son and the illegitimate daughter. A perfect match. What are you so smug about? Tina's face was full of hatred. She tried to pull Sean away to leave. Unexpectedly, Sean slapped her hard across the face. Are you quite mad? Sean's voice was hoarse as he screamed, his hand snapping out to grab her hair. When did I ever do those things for you? Explain yourself to Jeannie. Tina, her hair gripped tightly, was forced to lean her head back. Tears streaked her face, but her expression was twisted into a grotesque smile. Scared, Sean? But you did say it, that you couldn't let me go. His face darkened terrifyingly. He rolled up his sleeves, then forced Tina's head down towards me, trying to make her kowtow. I stepped aside in disgust. My father already said I'm unwell. Just leave, both of you, the noise is unbearable. Sean froze, Perhaps he didn't want to cause more of a scene in my home. He stood up, dragging Tina roughly out of the door. Sean marched Tina out, his face livid even though their relationship had soured. She was still my father's daughter. I worried that in his rage, Sean might lose control and do something drastic to Tina. After a moment's thought, I grabbed my coat and quietly followed them. Fortunately, Sean didn't live too far away. They argued a bit on the way, but it didn't come to blows. Trailing behind, I walked for about 20 minutes until we reached a somewhat dated residential complex. I watched the elevator they took stop at the 8th floor. I took the next elevator up. As the doors opened before I could step out, I heard them arguing in the stairwell. Jeannie doesn't love you anymore. What's the point of clinging to her? You'd be better off sweet-talking me. Maybe if I beg my dad, he could even rustle up some investment for your father. It was Tina's voice. Rely on you? Sean gave a short, derisive laugh. You're just the illegitimate daughter. You're no better off than I am. But don't forget, you promised that if I helped you get with Jeannie, you'd help me get my share of the inheritance. But do you really think Jeannie will remember now? Wake up, she's dead set on breaking up with you. That doesn't matter. Sean's low roar echoed in the corridor. I know now for sure that it's Jeannie I love. Every word reached my ears clearly. Then, they fell silent. I cautiously peered out. I saw Tina pulling Sean into a passionate kiss. Watching them locked together, a strange sense of familiarity suddenly washed over me. As the kiss deepened, Tina slumped weakly against the wall. I looked at the familiar scene, the familiar doorframe, the familiar wallpaper, the familiar corridor. My heart began to race violently, a wave of dizziness hitting me. Everything around me seemed to blur, and an inexplicable feeling of suffocation gripped me. Beads of sweat formed on my forehead. My palms grew clammy, a fine sweat broke out on the tip of my nose. Large drops of sweat rolled down my cheeks. My mouth trembled uncontrollably. I clenched my teeth, clutched my chest, and slowly slid down the wall into a crouch. I didn't even notice when my handbag fell. The sound of it hitting the floor startled the two of them. They sprang apart like release springs. Sean turned around, hastily pushing Tina away, his face deathly pale. Jeannie? What are you doing here? The suffocating feeling intensified. I stared fixedly at that face, my mouth opening but no sound emerging. Seeing the familiar scene before me, my vision started to darken. No wonder I remembered such a scene after waking up. A sharp, dull pain in my chest made it hard to breathe. I remembered everything. That night, he was holding Tina just like that, kissing her in this exact same spot. The suffocation grew stronger, as if a heavy stone were pressing down on me. I gasped for air, but my vision went black. My memory stopped at that moment, and I completely lost consciousness. The haze in my memory had finally cleared. I woke up in the hospital. Sean was the only one in the room. Jeannie? He started, a flicker of hope quickly lighting his eyes. You remember everything, don't you? A dull, overwhelming pain suddenly washed over me. Double quotes yes. Ignoring the discomfort in my heart, I forced myself to sit up, nodded, and admitted it without evasion. I did remember everything. That night, I heard someone picking at the lock outside. Sean said he'd go check. He didn't return for a long time. When I went out, I found him at the doorstep, locked in a passionate kiss with Tina. During the ensuing argument, I fell down the stairs and hit my head. When I woke up, I had amnesia. Actually, the subtle clues between him and Tina had been there all along. Even though he knew Tina, and I didn't get along, he never hesitated to go help her. On Tina's birthday, no matter what excuse I used to keep him with me, he would still leave to celebrate with her. When I complained, he would say, she's your sister. If you choose to think that way, there's nothing I can do. But I loved him, and that trust only led to him becoming increasingly presumptuous. That's wonderful. His exclamation brought me back to the present. I looked at his face, my whole body turning cold. But he hugged me tightly, full of joy. Then let's start over. We can go back to how we were before. I'll treat you right. I promise, okay? Get away from me. I pushed him away viciously. Meeting his confused gaze, I wiped my hands with disgust. Do you think I'm stupid? Let it go. When love is gone, it's gone. He froze, his smile becoming strained. What's wrong? We loved each other so much once, don't you remember? He tried to hug me again, but I sidestepped him. Meeting his eyes, my gaze was resolute. Aren't you disgusted with yourself? After what you did, how can you act as if nothing happened? He fell silent for a moment, his expression becoming inscrutable. After a long pause, he stood up, his eyes fixed directly on my face. You were so deeply in love with me before. I just don't understand why you've changed so completely, so quickly. Deeply in love? I tried to recall for a moment, but found his current demeanor merely pathetic. I shook my head. Not anymore. I don't believe it. We were together for 3 years. All those moments, they can't be shattered so easily by someone like Tina. He fetched a large box from the corner, fumbled to open it, and laid out its contents one by one before me. These photos, they're proof of every bit of our relationship. Looking at the pile of things, a pang of pain shot through me. In the past, I might have treasured these items, but now, their only purpose was to remind me of my own foolish past. I closed my eyes, refusing to look at him. Just go. I'm tired. No. I won't go. He cried out agitatedly. How can you just discard me like this? Do you think of me as a dog? Or do you, as Miss Jeannie, think you can summon and dismiss me at will? I looked at him with slight mockery. A dog, you flatter yourself. If a dog I'd raised for 3 years was disloyal, I'd throw it out too. He took a couple of deep breaths, his Adam's apple bobbing rapidly. Then he pleaded in a low voice. You said you'd never leave me. You said we'd always be together. Do you know how much you loved me before? I watched him coldly. Do you know what you look like right now? Meeting his puzzled gaze, I gave a light laugh, exactly like a piece of sticky plaster. His face twitched, but he quickly hid his reaction, pleading earnestly, I regret it. If I had another chance, I'd never go near her. He fell to his knees with a thud before me and started slapping his own face hard over and over. I just felt sorry for her. Sorry for her background, for how she's treated in your family. It reminded me of myself. His cheeks turned red from the slapping. But he didn't stop. The sharp sound echoed in the hospital room. Suppressing the complicated emotions inside me, I spoke. Sean, you're truly disgusting. You're the one who did wrong. But now you're making it seem like I'm the heartless one. Treated poorly in my house. My father's voice suddenly sounded from the doorway. The hospital door was pushed open, and my parents appeared. Tina was following behind them. My father walked over. His brow furrowed, his face dark. Who told you that Tina is treated poorly in my house? Sean was startled, then quickly pointed at Tina. She did, is that so? My father looked suspiciously at Tina. Tina's face paled, she hunched her shoulders, her eyes darting away. My father's voice was stern. Tina, the Zhang family has nothing to be ashamed of regarding you. Tina's face was white, but she stubbornly retorted, what right do you have to say that? Why does Jeannie get to live in a villa, while I only get an apartment? Why does she have endless pocket money, while I only get $5,000 a month? Isn't it just because you're bullying me for not having a mother? The door was open, and her voice was loud. Passers-by instinctively glanced into the room. My father's expression changed. He was shaking with anger. In the past, for your mother's sake, I raised you. But you knew perfectly well that Sean was your sister's fiancé. Yet you not only seduced him but caused all this trouble. I think from now on, you needn't come around anymore. The allowance stops too. After all, you're not my child. Tina shuddered, utterly stunned. Dad, what do you mean? My father averted his gaze, his face full of disappointment. I didn't want to say it before, hoping you could grow up healthy. But you show no gratitude for being raised. So I have to tell you now, you really are my child. Your mother lied to you. To be honest, I don't know who your biological father is. And one more thing, my father cleared his throat. You can keep living in that apartment. I won't take it back. But you only have the right to use it. I was momentarily dazed. She hadn't expected it. Neither had I. Tina had come to our family when she was 12. When she first arrived, my mother treated her like her own child. Whatever I had, she had to. Later, when she entered high school, she heard a lot of gossip and gradually started acting out, to the point where my mother was utterly disappointed and kicked her out. But even then, my father specifically bought an apartment nearby for her, and regularly sent a cleaner over to cook and clean. Who would have thought she wasn't actually my father's daughter? I looked at my mother. She gave me a slight nod. Impossible. Tina's face was pale, but she persisted. My mother wouldn't lie to me. My father waved his hand. Only Jeannie's mother and I knew about this. If you don't believe me, I'll cooperate with a paternity test. Tina looked at him, then glanced at me a few times. Her expression seemed caught between crying and laughing. She stood there stunned for a long time, finally revealing a sneer. How amusing. Jeannie did in the end. I don't even have a family. After saying this, ignoring the shock of everyone present, she slammed the door and ran out. My father then patted Sean's shoulder. You should leave too. I have things to discuss with my daughter. Uncle. Sean mumbled for a moment. Seeing my father's resolve, he could only shoot me a deep look before leaving the room. I looked at my father, my nose suddenly stinging painfully. A wave of emotion threatening to overflow. Dad, I smiled at him. Thank you. What I really wanted to say was, thank you for supporting any decision I make. No matter what happens, you always stand firmly by my side. But the words caught in my throat and I felt myself choking up. He looked a little embarrassed and patted my shoulder cheerfully. Silly child. Since when are you so formal with your old dad? A few days after being discharged, I saw Sean's WeChat moments. In the photo, he was holding Tina tightly. Both of them were flashing a V sign at the camera. The caption read, round and round, it's still you. I showed the post to my father. He put on his reading glasses, studied it for a long time, and nodded in agreement. They're not a bad match. They like each other, and they know each other's backgrounds well. Looking at the well-matched pair in the photo, I gave it a like. Unexpectedly, the next day, I saw another post from him. Again a grid of 9 photos of them together. It seemed he had taken Tina on a trip. Then, the 3rd day, the 4th day, every day, Sean punctually posted a set of photos with Tina, as if on a schedule. This went on for a week. A week later, Sean, his eyes red, found me. Jeannie, are you really so indifferent? I frowned. What's it got to do with me? He stood rigid, as if nailed to the spot, his mouth opening and closing without a word coming out. After a long while, he said, I was just deceiving Tina. I never intended to be with her. I posted those things just to provoke you. I could hardly believe my ears. Checking his moments again, I saw that all the previous posts had been deleted. I was about to speak when Tina emerged from around the corner. She walked over, her face pale, her eyes red-rimmed and full of sorrow. So, even as a second choice, you wouldn't pick me? He nodded without hesitation, his voice laced with sarcasm. Right. No matter what. I'd never choose you. I only pitied you. You're a mistake from my past. Seeing you just makes me hate myself for being so blind back then. Tina's voice was thick with emotion, but she still tilted her head up and forced a smile. Sean, let's make a bet. Let's bet that she won't choose you. Let's bet that you'll end up alone. It doesn't matter, Sean said. I'll wait. I'll wait until she changes her mind. Hearing this, Tina said nothing. She gave me a deep look, then turned and strode away. I looked at him, feeling a headache coming on. You should leave too. Don't come back again. Without waiting for his response, I went inside. For the next 6 months, Sean's presence lingered around me. Sometimes, things I'd once casually mentioned, like he would appear at my doorstep. On rainy days, there would always be an extra umbrella at the company entrance with a note for Jeannie. But I never went to see him. My father noticed too. He hesitated before speaking. There are plenty of good men out there. No need to hang yourself on one tree. What are you thinking, Dad? I threw an arm around his shoulder, laughing happily. It's time to bring on the next candidate. My father was efficient after some searching. He finally found a participant in a blind date who was well matched in every aspect. After dating for a while, we officially became a couple. The day we made it public, I posted a photo of us together on my Moments. Unexpectedly, Sean liked the post and commented, I hope you're happy. Another month passed. It was New Year's Eve. I saw Sean's Moments post. This time it's for real. The picture was of a marriage certificate. The woman was Tina. After posting this, he sent me a message. I won't wait for you anymore. But if you ever run into trouble, you can always find me. I'll come whenever you call. Immediately after, I got a WeChat from my best friend Jeannie. Explosive news. It's all over our circle. Your sister and your ex got married. Rumor has it your sister is pregnant with your ex's child and forced him to register the marriage. At first he refused, so she scratched up his face. Beside me, my new boyfriend was watching the New Year's gala on TV with my parents. He leaned over, popped a nut into my mouth and glanced down at my phone. What are you looking at? Long ago, when Sean used to cook, I'd always be on my phone. Back then, he'd often ask me what I was looking at too. But the face in my memory couldn't overlap at all with the person in front of me now. I smiled. Someone irrelevant. Then I opened Sean's WeChat and without hesitation, tapped delete. On the TV, the hosts were counting down to the new year. The 4 of us went out into the yard and, amidst the countdown, took a New Year family photo. Fireworks bloomed in the sky, heralding a new beginning. Everything was just right.